Tonight on Metro News. Convention centre plans still up in the air. Why some farmers are moving more than their herd. And a noisy sport makes tracks with adrenaline junkies. Kia ora and welcome to Metro News, our local news bulletin brought to you by the students of the New Zealand Broadcasting School. I'm Russell Maloney.
And I'm Isabella Aldridge. First up tonight, with 18 people dying on Canterbury roads so far this year, police are saying drivers need to keep focused. But as Ruben Mama reports, others believe there's a more effective way of getting the toll down.
An all too familiar sight from Canterbury roads. This scrapyard, a graveyard of damaged cars, often basic errors at fault.
It's not rocket science. When you're driving your vehicle, you're piloting about a tonne or a tonne and a half of metal down the road. You need to be focused on what you're doing, and unfortunately far too many people aren't.
A large amount of crashes around Canterbury have been occurring at busy intersections and roundabouts. Police say they can only put out so many messages and that safety behind the wheel is the driver's responsibility. But that message just isn't getting through. 18 people have died on Canterbury roads already this year. In 2014, there were 38 in total. Another figure often overlooked is the serious injury count, 337 last year, and that takes its toll.
A lot of it is pretty severe crashes, these days ending in spinal injuries, and a lot of them are often very high neck breaks, which are very severe. At the moment, it's just over 50% of people coming through the spinal unit are from motor vehicle accidents.
There's no single view on how to turn our crash stats around.
The police need to be more visible on the road. I think that's the best deterrent, is to see a lot of police out there.
Others say police can only do so much.
Abandon the ridiculous idea that people are going to somehow drive safely because you tell them to. And instead, let's have the police concentrating on stopping reckless driving, and let's change the roads and the cars so that ordinary mistakes don't turn into tragedy.
But local police are sticking to their message. Concentration is key.
Eyes forward, focused on what you're doing, driving safely.
A message that seems so simple, but is repeatedly ignored. Ruben Mama, Metro News.
The bigger the better. That's what the tourism industry is saying about the city's new convention centre, but not everyone agrees. Cass Merritt has been looking at the progress of this key anchor project and joins us now live. Cass.
Everyone's hoping construction will start later this year. We know it'll be in the middle of town. We know the government is paying for it. But the million-dollar question is, just how big is it going to be? Looking at this vacant land, it's hard to believe a bustling convention centre could grow out of it. Come late 2018, this whole area won't be so empty. That's because this site is set to become a thriving business hub. But that all hangs in the balance as Christchurch waits for some definitive answers to questions surrounding its construction. The size and scope of it is still not set in concrete, but Tourism Canterbury says the bigger the better.
So we have 31 conferences, potential bookings sitting there waiting to be confirmed.
Sarah says the centre's still in the master planning and development phase.
Yeah, people are bandying numbers around all over the place, so that's interesting. But what we really have to do is get a design and a construction that it's going to fit the city well for many, many decades ahead.
Sarah's artist impression of a $290 million centre looks like this, and local views are mixed.
Maybe not something on such a big scale as what I think they're planning to do, maybe a bit smaller.
For just this place getting cracking, we need it to be a priority.
Some experts say the current plan is too ambitious.
But if you're going to build a really big convention centre, you must be counting on getting, some really large number of people flying all the way to Christchurch to have their meeting. And my analysis is showing that trend is over.
In the meantime, discussions are continuing between funders and commercial partners on this project. Now, the reason the convention centre is so important is that a number of other projects are dependent on it. Canterbury Tourism say a lot of potential investors are just lined up, waiting for that green light so that they too may build in the inner city.
Cass, thank you.
Christchurch has the fittest Kiwis in New Zealand. Well, that's what a survey says anyway. Sam Pickering went along to find out why.
This weekly workout in Hornby is for people with medical conditions, but it's also keeping Canterbury at the top of our game. Ministry of Health figures show almost 80% of adults here routinely exercise, compared to the national average of just over 50%.
We had a bit of a celebration around here when we saw that in the paper. Everything we do is about getting more people engaged in sport and physical activity.
These courses have all sorts of health benefits.
Come along here and exercise those needs and mix with the people and make friends. Great group.
You don't have to do it if you don't want to. It's a choice thing. They don't make you do it. You can do whatever exercises you choose to do.
It's sessions like this which give Canterbury our good physical activity results. We've got people getting out there and giving it a go. And also our scenery has a huge part to play.
You can walk around Hagley Park, you can go out to the beach and go for a stroll along the beach, go up to the hills.
However, other local research suggests our physical activity is actually trending down.
Our research definitely said that people were doing less physical activity than they had when we asked them the question first in 2012.
But all agree physical activity is key to keeping fit. The Health Ministry's found Cantabrians know that well.
Probably because we're ready to run for an earthquake.
Sam Pickering, Metro News.
Still to come on Metro News, all is ready for gorillas to arrive at Arana Park and some fresh talent debuts at our annual band competition.
Welcome back. This week, dairy farmers across the country are on the move, relocating just in time for the new milking season. But, as Laura Twyman reports, this annual event does have its downside.
Usually full of cows, at this time of the year, many sheds are empty. The annual winter break gives dairy workers the perfect chance to move on ahead of the new season. It's a way of life farmers get used to.
No, I haven't spent probably more than about 5 years in the same place.
But moving to fit around the milking season, for some, is quite a big deal.
There are a number that them have to move all their gear, so it's not just their household, they have to move their kids, their farm gear. If you're moving as a shoe milker, moving from one farm to another, you have all your tractors, all your bikes, all your calf rearing gear, your cattle, your young stock.
While this period of changeover can't really be avoided, over the last few years discussion has been happening around the issues it can create.
Experts say it can be extremely disruptive in communities, at rural schools, particularly for children.
They're shifting schools, they're shifting communities, they might be losing friends, and it's that loss of relationships that they've spent time investing in.
But for so many, the changeover is seen as natural.
For me, it's never really been a problem. I suppose I changed schools a lot and made a lot of friends and met a lot of people and left a lot of friends behind and stuff.
Either way, it's something those in the industry are realising they need to be aware of. They say they're working hard to make transitions easier.
There's, I guess, a real need for the support industries, the likes of Dairy NZ and Federated Farmers, to try and help these families get settled in and run community events.
So the impacts can be eased, but with just a small break in the milking seasons, winter will always be the time when some dairy farmers get on the move. Laura Twyman, Metro News.
Excitement is building as the arrival date for Arana Park's 3 gorillas approaches. Getting them here and getting them housed is an expensive business, and one fan in particular has done his bit to help. Lucy Smith joins us now live to explain. Lucy.
All up, it's costing around $6 million to bring them over from Sydney and build the enclosure. So it's an expensive project and any assistance is welcome. Arana Park has an abundance of animals, from lazy lions, giant giraffes to playful meerkats. And 3 new additions are soon to be joining the family. The first gorillas in New Zealand are moving in.
And 3 boys, we're looking forward to meeting them. Their names are Fataki, Fuzu and Mahali, and they're going to be transferred from Taronga Zoo.
The finishing touches are going on the $6 million centre that will house the boys. Their outdoor play area has been inspired by parks around the world. When they touch down in Christchurch, one huge fan will be waiting. Sean Collins is mad on gorillas.
That's my passion.
He lives, breathes and sleeps them, even researching apes in his spare time.
Also, he went to Melbourne Zoo and saw was it Melbourne?
Melbourne and San Diego.
And San Diego, and did you go to Taronga in Australia.
Yeah, I did.
So he's come back and he's just, gorillas are everything.
Keen to help Arana Park, Sean got to work selling baking and hand-stitched pillows to fundraise for them.
He's an inspiration to us, aren't you, Sean? You're fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All his efforts have paid off.
We made $600. Yeah.
That's $600, prompting a big thank you from Arana Park.
So we thought the best way to thank him for that was to get him out and tour him through the facility. He's a very amazing young man for what he's done for the habitat, and is obviously a very key gorilla enthusiast.
As for the impressive gorillas, they're not too far away. Sean's fundraising efforts are far from over. He's hoping to raise $1,000 next time. And as for the gorillas, we can't tell you when they'll be coming or when people will be able to see them. And that's because staff don't know how long it'll take until they settle in. But one thing you can count on is that when they do arrive, Sean will be there.
Lucy, thank you.
A new approach to art classes is proving popular in Christchurch. Even beginners are taking masterpieces home, and they're all being helped along by a secret ingredient. Annabelle Dick went along to paint and sip.
It's all in the name, paint and sip. A place to relax, have a drink and be creative. It's the brainchild of Louisiana local Amanda Anthony, who moved here 4 years ago.
It started there after Hurricane Katrina as a fundraising thing initially, just to raise money for the families affected by the hurricane. So I thought post-quake, Christchurch needed something new and different to do, which wasn't very much here, so I thought, hey, I'll just open my own paint and sip studio here.
The sip part of paint and sip is what sets Amanda's Island studio apart.
So the wine just kind of helps take away that serious art side, really. It's an art class. It's just a fun night out.
Tutors are on hand to help beginners brush up on their painting skills.
It's out of the element at first, but then I think the fun thing comes into it and people start just to relax.
Novices enjoying finding their inner artist.
I was 10 years old. I did my last painting with my dad.
Actually, this is the first time I've ever painted, and the teachers have been really great.
I haven't painted since I was at high school, but it's definitely step by step, it's so much easier.
And Paint and Sip have no plans on hanging up their aprons anytime soon.
We just want to be rocking and rolling. We want to be the destination to come to in Christchurch.
A glass of Pinot Gris and a masterpiece to take home too. These classes adding a bit of colour to our city. Annabelle Dick, Metro News.
To talk about the under-20s football tournament and the current crisis FIFA is in is former All Whites captain Steve Sumner, who joins Ruben Mama in the studio. Ruben.
Thanks, Russell. Steve, firstly, thank you very much for coming in today. I just want to touch on the current FIFA corruption scandal. Has this tarnished international football?
Oh, by a long way. But the good thing is they're sorting it out. I mean, people have talked about this for many years, back to the days of Havelange and all that. And, you know, now the FBI are involved through the Attorney General of the United States. They'll find them out. She'll have all her ducks in a row. And, yeah, it's actually good news. Bad news, but it's actually good news. It's going to be sorted out.
And I guess with a raft of allegations in the air at the moment around the world, is New Zealand football's hands clean? Are they clean?
As far as I know, they are. During my time there, nothing ever cropped up that I ever saw. You wouldn't expect it to. I mean, it sort of just doesn't happen, you know. And look, I actually back New Zealand for the decision they made to vote against Blatter. I think it's the right way to go. But none of us know what's going to happen, you know, when this all changes and when there's a new regime in there.
And I guess looking on a positive note, all eyes are currently on New Zealand for the right reasons. What does hosting a tournament like the Under-20 World Cup mean for New Zealand and, more importantly, for Christchurch?
It's just amazing. I mean, how often you get international world-class young football players. That's what they are at the moment. I mean, I've been to the games last night, and there were some exceptionally talented football players that we will be able to see in the future and say, gee, I was there, I've seen that world-class kid. You know, it's that sort of level. And it's just great because New Zealand is actually seen in something like 200 million homes around the world during this tournament, so it gets great exposure, and so does Christchurch. So it's great for us, great for the kids, and yeah, and there's more great games to come.
And I mean, you've played in a World Cup yourself, so you know what it's like. How will these junior All Whites be feeling knowing that they're getting to play in a World Cup and at home?
Well, I think tonight, for instance, the game is going to be very important for them. It's a big game, and I've said to them, big game players step up for this one, and I think they'll rise to the occasion. And I said it's simple things like back yourselves and actually concentrate on your own job. Don't worry about the score, just do your job, and if enough of you are doing that, the score will take care of itself, you'll finish up with a win.
And finally, do you think that they can do the job and maybe, I mean, the odds aren't in their favour, maybe advance to the last 16?
Well, they've still got a chance yet. I mean, they have to win tonight. That's the first thing, is get a win. There are lots of things, that are out of their hands, but if they get a win, then you just never know.
That's great. Steve, thank you very much. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Ruben. Still to come on Metro News. Our two producers wrap up this year's show, and quad biking is making tracks in the sporting arena. Welcome back. Our sport is making serious tracks out in North Canterbury. Barnaby Clark went to check out what's causing such a rumble.
It's the sound of a dozen 450cc engines firing up before they drift, drag and jump. These riders are no amateurs. The best talent in the country is here in Amberley, vying for honours in the South Island ATV Motocross Champs.
A couple of people here to win trophies, and I suppose at the end of the day we all are, but as long as you're having fun, it's the most important thing.
This track's the only purpose-built course in the country, but it's not only the pros tearing it up, whole families are taking to the sport.
It's something you can do with your kids, and I've got a big family. I've got 4 kids racing, so that's a real big plus for me.
Quad bike accidents are a major concern in the rural sector, but this is something else. A controlled setting with lighter machines, protective clothing and a well-formed track. Having said that, not all get through unscathed. With speeds over 100 kilometres an hour and jumps a few metres high, it may seem a dangerous undertaking to many. But the odd fall or broken wrist is just part of the thrill for these riders, young and old.
The other weekend I had whiplash. I sprained my neck, but no real injuries since I was little.
The odd cracked bone, but as far as collarbones and legs and stuff, I've escaped all that.
We haven't seen any of the major sort of injuries that we can see with some codes of sport, so they're doing pretty well.
So if you're looking for a sport that gets the adrenaline going,
it's relatively safe for a motorsport. It's cheap to get into and it's got a family aspect. You can't really miss with that.
The thrills and spills of ATV racing might be for you. Barnaby Clark, Metro News.
The annual Battle of the Bands is underway in Christchurch, and tonight we're into the last heat before the semis. Cass Merritt went along to check out the action.
You may think rock bands all kick to the same beat, but at Battle of the Bands it's not the case. Allen Street Rock Club is playing host to the annual event, during which bands from all over the country rock it out for the title of Top Dog.
We don't really care if the band is, a pop band or a metal band or a reggae band. It's more about, are they good at what they're doing, and will they appeal to an audience that likes that style of music.
While most entrants stayed true to the rock genre, one band have been working on sounding a little different.
I'm talking and created ink, I make my way, display my piece, I pace away and make it free.
It's cool to be, I think, to turn heads to get appreciation from a different audience, because it's cool to chuck out and say, you shouldn't stereotype music by its genre either.
The event's been running for 20 years and the top spot is hotly contested.
We've got our best prize ever, I think, which is we've got a 10-day tour of Europe.
There are heats all around the country, with the final late next month. There's high hopes Canterburyans will come out on top.
Thank you very much, guys.
Whatever the outcome, Battle of the Bands has definitely struck a chord in Canterbury. Cass Merritt, Metro News.
Barnaby's here now with the weather. Barnaby, how's it looking for the weekend sport?
Well, Russell, the Bay of Plenty and the West Coast have been treated, but it's been a fairly wet day across the rest of the country, with Christchurch finally drying up after a few days of rain. But tomorrow the Garden City will finally kick that rain for touch with clear sunny skies, although it will be a chilly start at a fresh -2. If you're heading outdoors this weekend, take a couple of layers. It won't be getting any warmer than 11 degrees. And it's not too different across Canterbury as the regions look to hang on to those warmer temperatures. Ashburton, Darfield and Akaroa will all reach double figures throughout the day, but don't break out the jandals too soon. You'll be starting your day at a brisk -2. In North Canterbury, you'll be seeing similar conditions, Hanmer Springs and Rangiora hitting 12 degrees, while Kaikoura scores a cheeky 11. All in all, it's looking like a sunny start to your weekend, which is good news for those on the sidelines of Saturday's sport. Back to you, Russell and Isabella.
Barnaby, thank you. Now, over the past 2 weeks, Metro News has been updating you on what's current in Christchurch. But what's to come? Myself and fellow producer Tanya Green take a look at the city's future.
A community coming together.
The sun is set on 40 years of history.
Finally unveiled in the heart of Christchurch.
It's a new beginning.
We've been working behind the scenes, producing Metro News.
And while the journos have been out collecting stories, we've been working on a little project of our own.
It's taken 3 years to get the city back open. We're now out of deconstruction mode and moving into reconstruction mode. Out of a disaster, a stronger central city begins to grow.
We don't have Chinese or Aucklanders or anyone in here doing the rebuild. It's actually all locals. And we're lucky we've got passionate local people.
Anthony is Christchurch's biggest fan. He has no doubts the city will be world class one day. His $150 million investment is proof of his commitment.
It's a 4% return. That's naive, but we're doing it anyway.
The terrace overlooks the Avon. New things happening here as well. It's all about opening up the river and letting the people enjoy it more.
It really is the character and the qualities that people want to see shine as part of the centre of the city.
A river easily accessible, a welcome addition. Developers are encouraged to work together to ensure each new building complements the next.
As well as this spirit of creativity, there's grown the spirit of collaboration as well.
We welcome back an old favourite.
There have been 3 versions of the theatre itself since it was first built back in 1863. Now, the building itself didn't actually fall down in the quakes, but it did sustain severe structural damage. The only thing that's remained intact through all this, though, is the dome on the ceiling.
It's so hard to believe now, but in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll be seeing all of these amazing Christchurch buildings in the flesh. It has taken a bit longer than originally expected, but one day Christchurch will become this world-class city. It will happen, and it's happening right now. The creativity flowing back into the CBD is hard to miss. It's clear Christchurch will be back.
And with that, we end the show.
But you can still find us on our website, metronews.co.nz.
We hope to be back later in the year, but for now, thank you for watching. I'm Russell Maloney.
And I'm Isabella Aldridge.
Good night.